you think that we're seeing a rise in ISIS attacks? Will we see more of them?
Well, thank you for having me, Jessica. In short, I don't think we're seeing a rise. I think we're just now paying attention, which, to be completely honest with you, I'm glad about. I used to work Al Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb or the Sahel, which is where this is all going on, back in my day at CIA. And essentially, these groups have morphed into to ISIS. That's what's going on. And the general is right. This is actually a predominantly Muslim area. And ISIS is attacking really all faiths and all people. They aren't just singling out one group. It's obviously whomever doesn't agree with their agenda and their idea about a caliphate. But I also want to point out that 90% of all globally claimed ISIS attacks actually occur in the Sahel. I think we're just now waking up to it. And I think it is critical that these strikes were done with the go-ahead, essentially, of President Tinubu. But we also have to remember we took out individuals in Syria, the Syrians did, as well as Turkey just a few days before.
Okay, General Enyart, let me go back to you. Do you believe that strikes like this in Nigeria could run the risk of provoking or enraging and engaging other groups, and we could see more violence?
Well, of course it can, and certainly we've seen that happen in other parts of the world. The question, though, is how much of a reach do these folks have? And actually, to put a finer point on it, the number of attacks is down. It's about a third today of what it was in 2019. So ISIS has been dramatically weakened. But what we have to worry about here are the lone wolf actors, far more than any kind of organized threat or control of territory by ISIS. You know, for example, the New Orleans attack back on New Year's Eve, where an individual drove a truck down a street in New Orleans and killed, I think it was 13 folks. He was a lone wolf actor. He really wasn't part of ISIS, but he had gotten radicalized by viewing their propaganda, and so decided that he was going to kill some people. And that's the sort of thing that we have to worry about here in the United States more than, or for that matter in Australia, where the Bondi Beach incident happened.
No, absolutely. Tracy, do you agree with that? I mean, should Americans both, in the Middle East and here at home be worried about either a lone wolf or ISIS?
To be just completely blunt, I believe it's a bit irresponsible to say that, we shouldn't be worried about lone wolves being a part of ISIS. They're radicalized online. That is how they become radicalized. And the reality is the individual in the New Orleans attack, as well as the individuals in the Bondi Beach attack and several others that we have seen, actually had traveled to ISIS training camps, one in the Philippines, and then the individual in New Orleans had actually traveled to sort of the Syria area. So the reality is they are, in a way, pledging allegiance, but I don't think it matters. If you want me to be completely honest with you, ISIS in and of itself has sort of made its name off of being lone wolf. They're not Al Qaeda. They're not these franchises. They're not highly organized. And that is sadly why they are successful in doing what they are doing, because at CIA, it was really very difficult to track ISIS as sort of these one-off individuals. It's a lot easier to track these larger groups because they leave a much bigger trail.
Sure. General, switching gears now to the big meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy this weekend in Florida. How realistic is it to believe that we could see a meaningful breakthrough during those talks?
Frankly, not at all. Zelenskyy wants to string this out as long as he can because he wants to keep the U.S. At least neutral, if not in his corner. So he's playing nice with Trump in order to do that. Zelenskyy cannot surrender to the 28-point plan that the Russians put forth, that was initially put out by the administration several weeks ago. And Putin is any proposed settlement that is acceptable to Zelenskyy is not going to be acceptable to Putin, and vice versa. So you have two diametrically opposed positions here, and I don't see how you get to a peace settlement until one side or the other side essentially bleeds out and is no longer able to continue the war.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.